Welcome to Candlewick Library. I'm Cheryl, and today I'm giving some recommendations for the Tinsel and Tales readathon. I recently announced that I'm a co-host in Lucy Chronicles' Tinsel and Tales readathon in December, and so I thought it would be fun to give a few recommendations of books that I have read for the prompt. First, for a book with Christmas in the title, I want to recommend Christmas with Anne and Other Holiday Stories by Lucy Montgomery. I believe there's chapters from Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Windy Poplars in here, and then there's also stories from some of her other books, and then ones that were new to this collection. So it is a collection of short stories that are all holiday related and related in some way. The Christmas Pig by J.K. Rowling. This is one that we read as a family a couple of years ago when it first came out, and we really enjoyed this. It was a good read aloud. It was a good story, and it was very festive to read at Christmas time. Of course, A Christmas Carol. I can never get through the Christmas season without reading A Christmas Carol, either to myself or to my children. We usually read it out loud. This particular edition was put out by Owl's Nest Publishers. It's annotated for teen and middle grade readers, and this was pretty good. We have a pop-up book of it, but that is put away with our other Christmas picture books right now. And this year, you'll see what version we're going to read this year in my TBR video. And one of my all-time favorites since I was a little kid, and you can tell by how torn up it is The Bird's Christmas Carol by Kate Douglas Wiggin. This is the story of a young girl who is ill, she has bad health, and they believe it's going to be her last Christmas. It's really short, so this is something that you could probably read in one sitting. A lot of the books that fit the other prompts will also have Christmas in the title. So if you're doubling up, then there's quite a few books that you can use for more than one prompt. For a book on your TBR since last Christmas, obviously I can't give any recommendations for you for that. That's something only you know. But for a book with a holiday romance, Michelle Greep put out the Once Upon a Dickens Christmas series, and I'm going to talk about book 1 in a minute, but this one is book 2, A Tale of Two Hearts. And this is a story of fake dating. It's a bachelor who thinks that he's not going to be remembered in the will of his uncle if he is not married or going to be married. And so he invites a young woman to pretend to be involved with him. So kind of a modern concept, but put in an older time, and I enjoyed it. One of my very favorite Christmas books ever is Last Christmas in Paris, and this is by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. And this is looking back and telling the story of this older gentleman in Paris of his time in World War I. And it is told mostly through letters. It is just so good. I am definitely due for a reread of this one. And A Royal Christmas Wedding by Rachel Houck. I just recently read Once Upon a Prince and really liked it, but I read this one first. I read this, I believe, last Christmas. And this is just your kind of average Hallmark-ish contemporary romance set in Christmas time. It was very cute. The next prompt, read the Nativity Story, so obviously you would want to do that. And then you have the Christmas Gift, Free Space. And then there's a book with a festive cover. Some books that I have enjoyed over the past couple of years that I feel like have a really festive cover is The Nutcracker. This one in particular is translated by Michael Hague. I don't know how you say his last name. You could read the original E.T.A. Hoffman version, or there are plenty of other Nutcracker editions out there, and most of them are going to have a festive cover. In fact, this is a recent retelling of Nutcracker called Nutcrack. This is about a girl who has waited for a very long time to be able to play the part of Clara in the Nutcracker ballet. I read this in book club a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I remember at first having a hard time with it because it felt like the kids were a little bit bratty, but I do remember enjoying it by the end, and I did keep it. So I am due for a reread of this one as well, but I do remember thinking that it was a pretty interesting retelling. And then this is not a full-length book. This is a picture book, but this is something that I really love, and it is a little bit longer with the text than a picture book usually is. The Doll's Christmas by Tasha Tudor. This was something that we incorporated as a tradition for many years when my daughters were young because of this book. So we would read this a few days after Christmas, and then they would have their dolls, and we would have a little Christmas for the dolls. So I just love this cover. I feel like it just feels so Christmassy. And so I thought you might want to think about that too, that maybe not every prompt has to be a full-length novel. Maybe you could be reading books that are your traditional Christmas books that maybe are longer than a picture book that would take you just a couple of minutes, but something that has some meat to it, but that maybe those can count as well. And then The White Christmas Inn. This tells the story of a bunch of people that are snowed in at this lodge, And of course, it's very Christmassy, also feels kind of like a Hallmark movie. There might even be one of it. And this cover is just so festive. It just feels like you're showing up for Christmas with your family. Next is a Christmas book with a movie adaptation and watch the movie. So I have a few of these that I really like. The Greatest Gift by Philip Van Doren Stern. This book is very small, but this is what It's a Wonderful Life is based on. And I really enjoyed this story as well. And I love It's a Wonderful Life. So that would be a really fun pairing, a book you can read that's very short and then watch the great movie. I also really enjoy Miracle on 34th Street by Valentine Davies. And there are a couple of really good adaptations of this. My favorite is the one that was made, I believe, in the 90s. But I love the old black and white one with Natalie Wood. But I like the one in the 90s even better, actually. I think this is really fun to read right after Thanksgiving and going into the Christmas season, and as one of your first books and one of your first movies. Last year I read The Bridge by Karen Kingsbury. This was the very first Karen Kingsbury book I read, and there was a Hallmark adaptation of this book. I felt like the adaptation was really good, but I don't think it was as good as the book. So if you've only watched it, you should pick up the book. This book made me cry. I really loved it. And it's the main reason that I've read more Karen Kingsbury since then, because I was so drawn into her story and this bookshop and the people that run it. And one I have to mention, because it's very important in our family, is Barbie and the Perfect Christmas. We don't read the book every single year, but every single year when we put up our Christmas tree, we have a sleepover around it and we watch Barbie Perfect Christmas. It is a really cute Barbie movie. It's just so fun, and it's one of my favorite traditions. And then a book with snow in the title or on the cover. I read this last year as well, The Mistletoe Countess by Pepper Basham, and there are little snowflakes around the edge of the whole book, and it looks like there might be snow on the ground in the background. This is a book I have to give a caveat to. I enjoyed this book. I enjoy her writing. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the characters. I do feel like, even though it was mainly closed door romance, that there was a little bit too much talk of the intimacy between them on the page. And it is a married couple, so it's different than some books would be in that aspect. But I was disappointed in this book because of that, because I knew that it would make my daughter uncomfortable, and yet I knew she would have liked the story. And so I felt like I couldn't completely recommend it to everybody, but it is still, by most standards, very clean and a really cute story. Another one of my all-time favorites is J.R.R. Tolkien's Letters from Father Christmas. And this is a compilation of the letters that came to his children every year from Father Christmas, and the artwork that was included in it. I love this edition because it shows the actual letters in his handwriting, and then also has it easier to read. But this is just delightful. It's so much fun. I love it. And if you love Tolkien, you should definitely read this. And even if you don't, you should read it. But this obviously has a lot of snow on the cover. This also has Christmas in the title and snow on the cover and a festive cover. So this could be for a lot of the prompts. I also read Sandover Beach Christmas by Emma St. Clair last year. And this has a lot of snow on the cover. I believe this one was Fake Relationships too, but I don't remember that much about it. I remember thinking it was cute. I liked it. And it also had that kind of Hallmark feel to it. But I know that a lot of people really love her. I probably should reread it because I just don't remember that much about it. But I think a lot of people would really enjoy this one. And it is very beautiful. The last one, A Christmas Mystery Book. This one is stretching it a little bit, and this could probably be used for one of the other prompts, like a festive cover, just because of the all red. But this is I Saw Three Ships by Elizabeth Goudge. I love Elizabeth Goudge. And this is a very short little book. In this book, Polly lives with her two aunts, and she knows that something special is going to happen on Christmas. The way it's described says, inspired by the timeless carol I Saw Three Ships, this lyrical tale by one of England's great and beloved storytellers celebrates the magic as well as the mystery of Christmas. So I'm adding it into that prompt because they are saying that it is a mystery, and it says a magical tale by Elizabeth Goudge. So that stretches it a little bit, but I thought that might be helpful. If you don't really like reading your typical mystery, and some people do and some people don't around Christmas, and so I just wanted to put something in where maybe you could think outside of the box of the typical mystery for something Christmassy, because I think a lot of books that have to do with Christmas could be considered mystery if there's magic and wonder and maybe you're not sure what's going to happen. And then I said I was going to talk about the first book in the Once Upon a Dickens Christmas from Michelle Greep. This one is 12 Days at Bleakley Manor. This book has kind of an interesting premise where it reminded me of And Then There Were None, where people are getting invitations to come stay at this manor over Christmas. And nobody really knows for sure why or from who. And I really enjoyed it, and definitely mysterious. And then I also read a few of the short stories from Silent Night's Christmas Mysteries last year. So this book has a bunch of different short stories in it. It has The Blue Carbuncle by Arthur Conan Doyle, Parlor Tricks by Ralph Plummer, A Happy Solution by Raymond Allen, The Flying Stars by G.K. Chesterton, Stuffing by Edgar Wallace, The Unknown Murderer by H.C. Bailey, The Absconding Treasurer by J. Jefferson Fargian, The Necklace of Pearls by Dorothy Sayers, The Case is Altered by Marjorie Allingham, Waxworks by Ethel Lina White, Cambric Tea by Marjorie Bowen, The Chinese Apple by Joseph Shearing, A Problem in White by Nicholas Blake, The Name on the Window by Edmund Crispin, and Beef for Christmas by Leo Bruce. So it has quite a few short stories in it, and some of those authors I've never heard of, and then of course others are favorites. I only read a couple of them in here last year, and so I'm hoping to get to the rest of them over the next few Christmases. So that could be a really good option for Christmas mystery as well. I don't know that you would even have to read the whole book if you just read one of the mysteries in it. So I hope that helped and gave you some really good ideas for this upcoming readathon, and I hope that you are joining us.